So, David, changing manager is in effect one of the most influential decisions you can make as a chief exec and as a board. So, take us inside the process of your decision making here to make this decision to replace Chris Hughton with Neil Adams.
Well, we at Norwich City tend to back our managers. We like to give our managers the opportunity to succeed. We're not hire and fire merchants by football standards by any stretch. So it's with a heavy heart that we've had to let Chris, Colin and Paul go. We felt that we were left with little choice though, given the form over the recent weeks with 7 away defeats consecutively, 4 defeats in 6 games, and we've only accumulated 4 points in the last 6 games. And that was from a base of probably 1 point a game prior to that anyhow, so we weren't in rude health at that point. We expected an improvement and things have worsened. So we were left with very little choice. We feel that we had to make a change in order to firstly protect our Premier League status and secondly move up the league. In terms of the process, we as a board do operate with all members of the board having a view on where we are. So after the game on Saturday, we all slept on it. Sunday morning we reflected on where we were. We had a meeting with Chris on Saturday evening, Delia, Michael Wynne-Jones and myself, and obviously took that into account, as well as the soundings from other board members and other people across the Norwich City family, including playing staff, including people behind the scenes, and of course really listening carefully to the views of the fans.
There are those in the media that say that Chris Hughton had done a sufficient job, that considering the playing personnel, his results had been more or less on par. Is that an assessment you agree with?
No, I think with the squad that we've got, I think we've underperformed this year, and I think most Norwich City supporters would say that we haven't played as well as they expected us to this year, either by way of performances or indeed the results that we've got. So we think we're below par this year. We do understand that the national media have a view that it's a much smaller club than it actually is, but Norwich City supporters of course realise that we're a big club, and we've got a huge fan base that we need to satisfy. So we've been below par, but clearly other people in the game, they're welcome to their opinions. They're not opinions that we share.
Neil Adams made a notable mark here at this club with last season's FA Youth Cup triumph. Was it that defining moment where you thought this could be our next first team manager?
Well, I think we've been aware of Neil's credentials and potential for a number of years. He's been with us as a player and then as a coach and in other capacities for 2 decades now. So he knows the club inside out. He's a Norwich City Hall of Famer, Norwich City legend. He's somebody that we know inside out. Clearly, he hasn't the experience of managing at a Premier League level, but we are very confident with his coaching ability and with his tactical nous and his technical abilities, then we will improve our fortunes for the remainder of this season with Neil in place.
Neil made his mark last year as a coach that employed a very vibrant attacking style of football. Was that kind of shift of ethos part of your reasoning for making this managerial change?
Not necessarily in terms of an attacking ethos in the short term. We do think that things haven't been working, so we need to make some changes. So we've made that change at managerial and coaching level, so that's important. And we would expect Neil to put his own stamp and his own mark on the team over the remaining 5 to 6 weeks, 5 games of the season. So we would expect to see some changes, perhaps not wholesale changes, but there might be subtle ones that we think could be enough to make a significant difference.
It's no secret, David, that this is a difficult run-in the club has now. Fulham is a team in our demographic that, of course, we can hope to beat, but a tough game away, as it has been in recent years, and then 4 very difficult fixtures against what are perennial Champions League contenders. So what are the club's expectations of Neil as we enter these final 5 games? Well,
firstly, we want Neil to do as well as he possibly can, and that means ensuring, firstly, that we stay in the league, and secondly, we improve our league position. So the expectations are for us to garner enough points to achieve both of those aims. Fulham's the most important game because it's the next game. And of course the 4 teams that we play in the run-in are huge giants of world football, so we understand how difficult those are going to be. But we've done pretty well against some pretty big teams over the course of the last 2 years, and so we'd like to hope that we'll be able to get some points in those remaining 4 games of the season. Well, I think it's always sad when you make that change because it means people are losing their jobs. That being said, football managers and those of us that work in football are very lucky that 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 the football managers are paid at a different level to most people in the country. So you have to accept that they have a softer landing when they lose their jobs than most of us. But we have to always act in the best interest of the football club, and we're here to serve the supporters. And taking those two things into account, we have to do what's right, and we felt that the change at this point was right for the football club. You are aware, Max, of course, that supporters have been calling for a change. Many supporters have throughout the season, really, almost since the get-go. So we've been under pressure to reconsider the management team for some time. Up until now, we haven't felt that it was right, but we do believe that the change at this point is right for the football club.
There were some unsavory scenes here after the final whistle on Saturday, and both Neil Adams and Russ Martin said yesterday it's critical that the fans get behind this team for the final 5 games. I assume your message is very much the same.
Absolutely. We just want all Canary fans everywhere at Carrow Road and at Craven Cottage and elsewhere to just get behind Neil and the boys, because together we can achieve anything. And there's a great opportunity if the fans get behind the players. The players will bounce off the fans, and we'll have that 12th man again. That's what we're after. And let's help. As Canary supporters, let's help Neil and his team get the points that we need to move up the table.